Mark. I want to make this video to clear up some confusion, I guess, about the video I did on leg drive on the EliteFTS um, YouTube channel. I got a lot of response, and that's good. It doesn't matter so much if you agree or disagree, but I appreciate the comments because it gets the discussion going, and I don't mind defending my position because I have the ammunition to. So it's fine if you want to throw things at me for me to see if I can figure it out, and I might learn something as well. So please continue to comment, and I tried to respond as best I could to anything that wasn't redundant. If it was already addressed somewhere else, I just let it go. So I did my best with that, but it was clear to me that I should have done a few other things, and I'll do that now in this video. So this is to further explain my position on leg drive in the bench press. And the first thing I think that I should have done is explain where this myth came from. If we understand where something came from, we can deal with it better. A lot of times it came from somewhere that it's just held over. It's just tradition. I do it because we always done it. There's a joke about that with the Christmas ham, where a husband asked his wife, "Honey, why do you cut the end of the ham off every Christmas?" And she said, "Well, because my mother always did it." And so they said, "Well, Grandma, why did you cut off the end of the ham?" And she said, of course, "Well, because my mother always did it." And they said, "Well, let's call great grandma down in Florida and ask her." And they called her and they said, "Great grandma, why did you cut the end off of the ham every Christmas?" And she said, "Because my roasting pan was too short." So that's kind of where we are with this hip drive thing. Now, let's go back to where it came from, where the idea of hip drive came from, and let's remember that the powerlifting is not that old. We're going to learn things as we go. It hasn't been around that long. 50s, 60s, there were guys lifting weights, but back then they told you that if you lifted weights, you were going to get muscle bound. So athletes were discouraged. I mean, it's hard to believe, but that's true. Athletes in the 50s and 60s were discouraged. Even the 70s. Let's not remember it took a long time before weightlifting actually took off. They thought it would make you muscle bound and slow you down. So powerlifting as a sport wasn't nearly as, it's not as old as you think. It's brand new. So I mean, it hasn't been around for 100 years even. Not even. So when guys were benching, there was no bench. They were laying on the floor and chest pressing. They had a barbell and maybe some squat stands. There was no such thing as a rack. But usually they just cleaned the barbell and started squatting. So let's be clear. We started benching on the floor, and that one guy had a bright idea one day that, hey, I could get more range of motion if I did this on a thin bench and let my arms go past the level of the floor, where I try to bring it down to my chest and I can't quite get there because my arms hit the floor. So if I was on a bench that was thin and let my arms go past it, I could stretch my chest out a little bit better. And so that guy went from the floor to a bench. Now this makes sense, right? But remember, on the floor, he was laying there with his body flat against, his spine flat against the floor, and his knees up like a triangle, bent. And so when he went to the bench, what did he do with his feet? He put them on the bench, just like he's been doing it on the floor. The only thing he's concerned with is stretching his arms down. So guys started bench pressing with their feet on a bench. Yeah. And it makes sense if you know where it came from. And so it didn't take them long to realize then that, and I'm sure they realized this on the floor, but if I push down with my legs a little bit and raise my hips up, I can bench more. And that's true. You can. But why? Because your legs are pushing down and that drive, that leg power is somehow transmitting into the bench? No, not because of that. Because going from a flat to a decline press leverage makes it easier to bench. Everybody knows you can decline more than you can flat bench, and you can flat bench more than you can incline. By changing the angle of the push from up here by the shoulders to flat bench with an incline, to a flat bench, to a decline bench, the weights go up. They always do. Everybody knows that. So what was happening, and where this myth originated that there's some sort of leg drive, is guys would press and they would push their feet on the bench into the bench and raise their hips up off the bench and create a decline leverage. The advantage and the extra pounds didn't come from leg power or strength. It came from leverage, creating the decline position. So when they started putting their legs down and we started having competitions, guys would lift their hips up, because that's just, they're still trying to get that rib cage to angle up and get the decline position. They made the rules up, and we've stuck to most of them. And they said you got to keep your hips down. And so the only way now then to get that decline leverage was to create an arch. And that's what happened. So that's where the arch came from too. Not that it's that healthy, but it allows you to get the decline leverage that you want. It has nothing to do with transferring the leg power up. So let's keep that in mind. I want you to keep in mind where this idea came from. And then secondly, I want to clear up for sure, I think I did this. It may have gotten edited out on the FTS video. I don't think so though. I think it's in there. That I'm not talking about shirt lifting and now being allowed to lift your head up and roll and heave the bar up. If you're doing that, it makes all the sense in the world to drive your legs and to change your spine position and to heave the bar with some leg drive. And I thought I made that clear, but I'm doing it now. I'm making that clear. That's not what I'm talking about. So don't say, well, JM, there's a lot of leg drive and et cetera, et cetera. When it applies to shirted lifting and heaving the bar, yes, there's leg drive. I get that. But when I was competing, and I think in most of the federations, you're not allowed to heave still to this day. And I'm talking about shirt-free lifting, just raw strength, just being really strong in a bench press. If you want to be a really strong guy, you can't go run and get your bench shirt and say, wait here, I'll go get my bench shirt and then I'll come back and I'll be really strong. If you want to just be a strong person, a strong guy, strong chest and shoulders and triceps, then that's what I'm talking about. So let's make that distinction, and please don't try to drag me down into something I'm not saying. I'm not saying that for shirted lifting and gear lifting there's no leg drive. Okay? Now, some guys want to make the point that even without a shirt, if I use some leg drive to push my sternum, if I let my sternum come down and then push the bar off of it up and back, I can get some kick from my legs to go into the bar to help it go up and back. And that's true. I'm not saying that doesn't happen either. But I'm going to remind you that that pushing back is not a good idea, because the weight of the bar is not resisting you forward and back. It is only pushing down. Gravity only pulls straight down. And any force that is pushing the bar back or forward or sideways or any direction other than straight down, which is where the weight is resisting you, is pounds and force that doesn't go into lifting the bar. It goes into moving it back. So that leg drive pushes the bar back, sure, okay. But it doesn't push the bar up. And also, when you let me remind you that the opposite of stability is mobility. And so if your rib cage is mobile, and you're saying I start here, then I kick my legs, and that moves my spine, and then I don't lift my hips, but I move my chest and rib cage, and I get a better arch. You're talking about looseness, sloppiness, open for all kinds of power to leak out. So if you could transfer it from the legs, which you can, I'll go into that in a second. If you could, it doesn't get to the bar. It moves the rib cage, it gets lost in the translation, it goes up here, and then you're saying it comes back down through the, so it starts in your feet, and it comes up your shins, and it goes through your hip, your femur, and it goes to your hips, and your hips come up, and that raises your sternum, and then it comes back down into your shoulders, into the bench, and then it pushes down into the bench, which helps you lift the weight up. I mean, it's just a misunderstanding of physics and mechanics. It doesn't work that way. Forces do not move that direction. Now, if you're doing an overhead press, pushing down into the floor with your legs and up through your spine, that works. But not along this horizontal plane. That would be like you and your buddy moving, and you got one end of a heavy couch and he's got the other end. And you're trying to lift yours up into the back of the bed of the truck. And you tell him, hey, I need to get this end of the sofa up higher. We need to move it up. So you, on your end, I want you to drive like crazy, and I want you to really pick your end up so that my end will go up. And this guy does, and he lifts his end of the couch all day long, and it never moves this end of the couch because it doesn't go that way. It doesn't go up here equals up here. He'd have to come under this way, and it doesn't work like that. Your hips just go up, and it doesn't go up and back down and under. And so think of the couch when you want to tell me about how you personally are certain that you get leg drive and it helps you lift the bar, because it somehow the leg drive going up, which is at the level of the bench, goes up, and this force comes up into your body, and it goes back down, and it gets delivered back down somehow into the bench so that you can drive the bar up. Your shoulders driving down into the bench on this end of the couch is where you lift the bar. You push down on the bench, and that drives the weight up. It's opposite and equal reaction. Newton taught us that. The support and the drive goes into the bench from your shoulders. It does not have anything to do with your leg muscles or the drive or whatever you're doing. And if you doubt me and you think you need leg drive to bench with your legs up. Practice your balance a little bit, and then bench heavy with your feet on the bench. Don't create the decline press like the guys used to, but see how different that is. See how much you're getting out of the leg drive, that you think you're getting all this power and percent more. And some people say, oh, I get 20% out of my leg drive. Okay, well then, if you bench with your feet up, you should bench 20% less. And you will not. Now you're not used to it, so you'll bench a little bit less, but they'll be close. What you can bench with your leg drive and all that nonsense, and what you can bench with your feet up off the floor is going to be very, very close. Because you think that you're getting a lot, but test yourself. Prove it to yourself. Prove it to me. Prove that you're getting a ton of benefit from your leg drive by taking them out of the equation. Put them on the bench and let me know what happens. If it's more than 5% different, I'll be surprised, and we'll have to talk about that. And you can teach me all about how you did that. But it won't be, because that's not where the power comes from. It comes from your chest, shoulders, and the drive straight down into the bench, downward into the bench. That's where you're driving your shoulders. What lifts the bar is you driving down, not you pushing your hips up. But we could talk about it. You can. I'm open to understanding new things. That's what's made me what I am today. When I'm wrong and somebody shows me that I'm wrong, what I do is I let go of the wrong idea and I embrace the new idea. And that's why I'm right so often, because I've been doing that for a long time. So if you can show me what I'm missing, maybe I was not paying attention that day. in physics class, and I missed that part of mechanics, and you know something I don't. That's possible. There are people out there that know a lot more than me, and I'm willing to take that on. But I've thought about this a lot, and my career depended on it. So I thought about it more than a lot. Um, but that still doesn't mean I couldn't be wrong. I could be wrong. And if you can show me where I'm wrong, I'll let go of my wrongness and embrace your rightness. And I'll do it quickly too. But you're going to have to, you can't just tell me I'm wrong and that you get 20% out of your leg drive. You're going to have to show me. You're going to back up what you say. I'm not just going to believe you because you say that it happens. You're going to have to show me how it happens. And that's what I'm trying to do here with you. I'm trying to show you how it can't happen. And I also try to, in my videos, show you how to do it properly. So I'm not just saying don't do it this way. I'm saying don't do it this way because it doesn't work. Let me show you how it doesn't work. Do it this way, and let me show you how it does work this way. I try to do that. And if I fail, let me know. I'll do better. So getting back to this idea that you can use your legs to push up and back. Number one, the backward stuff doesn't help you. And in fact, it's going to get you hurt one day. And let me tell you why. Because when you push up and back, if you have your elbows in where they belong at 45 degrees, and they're under the bar, and the bar comes this way, and you still have your elbows in, the further the bar comes this way, you can't hold that. You can't hold a bar at an angle like that. So what you're going to have to do is when the bar comes this way, when you push up and back towards your face, you're going to have to bring your elbows under it, which means they're going to flare. And if you have ever done that, you know that puts a tremendous strain on your shoulder. And so you're going to end up in this handcuff position with your elbows out to support the bar, because if you bring them in, you're not supporting the bar, it's just going to fall. So you have to bring your elbows out, and you're going to be holding it with your shoulders. And maybe not this week, maybe not this month, maybe not this year, but as you get stronger and stronger, and you keep pushing back over your face and holding it up there with your shoulders, you will sustain some sort of injury to your shoulder. And I know this for a fact because I know a guy that it happened to. And I've seen other guys that it happens to, and it will happen to you too, sooner or later. So you want to protect the shoulders by keeping them at 45 or less and keeping the bar down away from up here. You want to keep it down here where you have that decline leverage again. So the idea that you find a way to push with your hips and heave the bar because you're mobile, not stable on the bench, and your rib cage does this, and your hips drive, and you get some kick, but it's not up, it's back. And I don't need any backward motion to lift the weight. I need up. And that's just physics, and you can't argue with gravity, and don't argue with me about gravity. That's not I didn't invent it. It's just here. That's how it works, and you know it works that way. So don't argue with gravity. But the concept of being stable and not moving a thing is what I preach. So some people say, and here's another thing that people got caught up on, and maybe I'm the one that's caught up on it. The word drive, leg drive. And they say, JM, leg drive just means holding your legs still and not letting anything move. And I'm like, okay, I agree that we should hold our legs firm and be stable and not let them move. But how is that driving? When I drive the bar up off my chest, there's a lot of movement. So when you say, drive your arms up, Jay, I'm going to have a lot of movement. And if you use the same word, drive, say drive your legs, and you mean hold them real still, that's just inviting confusion. And it is confusing. You can't use, I don't call my car my washing machine. I don't call holding really still and tight driving. I call it holding really still and tight. I call it stability. I call driving, and I call means stability. So when you use the same word for both of those terms, yeah, get a lot of leg drive. And what that means though, JM, is holding really still. So I push my body up onto my shoulders so I can get good lift or real drive. Uh, how do those two terms equate? I mean, if you tell a dog sit and you want him to sit down, and you say sit and you want him to lay down or jump around the room, you're going to end up with a hard time training your dog, and you're going to end up with a hard time in life if you interchange words and you conflate two things that mean different things together. Um, so as a coach, it's our job to make it clear to our athletes what we expect of them. And if you use drive for, this punching motion of your arms, and you use drive for holding your legs really still and firm, how, you've already lost me, and you've lost a lot of your kids too. And you're just making something confusing that doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. So a lot of people said to me, JM, leg drive is just a term for holding your legs in the bench press really still. And I think I made my point that, okay, if that's what you mean by it, then why not call it oranges? JM, the term oranges just means holding your legs really, really still. If you're just going to use a random term for what you mean when you when you want the legs to be held stable and firm and still and unyielding, then why not use a term that's not going to be confused with another term we use in powerlifting when we mean move something really hard and fast? You're you're just making something really confusing and obfuscated when it's really not. It's really not. Holding still and tight and motionless is easy to say. Tighten up. Hold it. Lock in. That's the term I use. Lock in. Lock your legs in. Lock that spinal arch in. Hold it. Don't let it be wobbly. Don't let it be loose. Lock it in. Use your legs, not to drive, but to hold your hips and your spine steady. You're not driving them around. You're going to drive the bench. You're going to drive the bar. And so if you want to tell me that your terms mean what they mean to you, then that's fine. But you can't go on the internet and expect everybody else to know your terms. When we say oranges around here, JM, what we mean is, hold really, really tight. You can't just expect everybody on the internet to know that you mean that when you say oranges. Because I'm going to think when you say oranges, you mean the fruit that I eat for breakfast. And you're allowed to have your own terminology for things. That's a code. And you're allowed to do that. But but don't try to force that down my throat. If you want to talk to me, let's talk in the terms that we both understand and that everybody else understands, and that they are what their definition is. If you want to redefine them and have a discussion with me, I can understand you, but you got to preface the whole thing with that. You can't just say that everybody knows that leg drive means holding steady, because they don't. Some people think it means to push really hard and push the bar up and back and push, and so that's another thing that I got a lot of. It just means it's another way to say hold steady, and that's not another way to say hold steady. If I talk about my washing machine and you think I'm driving around the state in my washing machine, then we either have a code going or I don't know how you got that. Because my washing machine just washes clothes. It doesn't drive me around. My car drives me around. So let's call a car a car. Now let's call a washing machine a washing machine. And then we can have a meaningful discussion about mechanics. If you don't know the mechanical terms, and I don't expect everybody to, we have to come to an agreement, at least on the common terms for things. And drive does not equate to holding still and steady and locking in. Locking in does, but drive doesn't. So that's just some sloppy coaching and cueing. that we can get rid of instantly. Instantly. And so let's do that. Let's just get rid of it. Let's just talk about what we mean when we mean it. Um, I think that covers about the most important things that I want to talk about. Um, and I hope it clears things up. This is a long video, but I was surprised at how much confusion there was. So um, I wanted to clear up as much of it as I can, and I hope I've done a good job. And if I haven't, there'll be another video about this, and I'll try even harder. Again, if you know a way to get legs to help out in the bench press other than holding tight, I even take my thighs and knees and I pinch the bench. I lock in so much that not only do I keep pressure downwards and tightness along the fronts of my thighs, I actually take my knees and grab the bench with my knees to hold steady. So I'm a big believer in tightness and the use of the lower body for that. That's what it can do for you in the bench press. It can make you more stable. So what the legs do for the bench press is they stabilize. They do not produce power that transfers into lift. And if you know a way that happens, I'll listen. I'll listen, but you better go through your stuff before you come to me, and it better make sense. Because if it doesn't, you'll just get more of this. You'll get more of me telling you why it doesn't. Now, I know so many people don't want to give up this idea. And remember where it came from. It came from guys benching and changing their angle to get a decline press when they were first benching off of the floor. And then it comes from the real help that it gives you in a shirted lift where you roll your head and neck and chest and your shoulders are off the bench, and then you flip the bar up and rotate back onto the bench. Yeah, that absolutely is a real thing. So I'm not arguing that with you. And I thought I made that clear, and I hope I have. So to make this under 30 minutes, I'm going to cut it off here, and I hope I've done a good enough job at giving you what my point is and what I believe in. And I'm inviting criticism. That's a good thing to do. People that don't invite criticism are afraid that they can't defend their stance. And I'm not that way. I'm pretty sure I can defend this no matter what you throw at me. So I'm willing to do that. And if you do, that we can all learn something, possibly. I mean, other people can learn from your question and me showing what I mean. So I'm not at all discouraging more comment on this, but no more redundant comments. So if you're just going to say the same thing that somebody else said, just let them say it, and then we'll go from there. So I hope this was clarifying. I feel that it was, but again, I know things from way back that maybe you don't know, and that goes unsaid by me, and I should have said it. So thanks for listening, and I hope this made common sense too. Thanks.